So I didn't find out it was rape until I was 18 and got my social care records. Before then, I had a document from previous case files that I was shown much younger that had the age difference of my parents, birth parents, but I didn't really think into it. So when I was 18 and was told by a social worker and read it myself in my files, that's when it was clear. That's when it was clear to me it was rape.
And how did you feel when you found that out?
It confirmed the age difference, but it was still shocking. And I think the biggest impact for me was once I'd found that out, and I had been so keen to meet my birth mother, I wondered if that would mean that she wouldn't want to meet me because of those circumstances. So that was my biggest worry.
And how did you track your birth mother down, and what was it like when you reconnected with her?
She was traced. My adoptive father had friends in the Midlands, and they actually managed to track through the electoral roll. Just from the information I had, I was able to get some birth certificates and traced my grandmother through the electoral roll, and through there, able to trace my birth mother.
And what was it like when you and your mum met each other?
Well, it was incredible. I mean, we look very alike. To see somebody, if you're adopted, to meet somebody you're related to in the flesh is quite incredible. I met siblings as well.
Oh, wow.
Totally overwhelming.
And
hugely validating.
And it must have been, did your birth mum fear that you would not want to ever track her down?
She actually, in our exchange of letters before we met, she'd actually been really clear that she'd always wanted me to find her. So actually my fears were unwarranted. She'd said she'd always wanted me to trace her.
And so what made you decide to pursue justice, even though these were very difficult personal circumstances, Vicky?
It was the level of injustice was just, I've said it before to people, it was just too unpalatable. Even at 18, reading those files, even though my focus was finding my birth mother, to see that evidence that a child had been raped, made pregnant from that rape, social care were aware, police were aware, and nothing had been done was just absolutely horrendous. And as years went by with more historical cases, it just made much more sense that this could be a time now to get long overdue justice for both my birth mother and myself.
And so did high-profile cases like, for example, the Jimmy Savile case, did that encourage you to pursue this?
Absolutely. I'd say cases such as Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, very high-profile historical cases just generally, they really motivated me. Also, we had some child sexual abuse scandals, so it felt like that the atmosphere was right for me to be taken seriously.
And when you decided to pursue justice, how did your mum feel about it?
I had approached her in trying to do an evidence-based prosecution, so I had never wanted her to have to be in a position to go forward again. For me, she'd done that as a child. It has been documented. It was now the responsibility of agencies that had failed decades ago. And I completely understood she was really not keen to go forward.
And of course, as you just alluded to, it had been a very traumatic experience for her because she had just not been believed, or she had been ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. By the agencies and individuals that should have been protected, she'd just been ignored. And, a black teenage girl in 1970s Birmingham, absolutely ignored.
So you started doing a lot of research into your own case. You started building up the evidence. But Vicky,
Yes.
how hard was it for you to bring this case and get justice? What did you have to do?
I did a couple of years of research around my own family, tracing my birth father, requesting files back again to see if any other information was provided. I traced where he was. There was an inaccurate name, inaccurate address. I managed to kind of investigate exactly where he was and what his name was. I researched evidence-based prosecutions. Keir Starmer had written a paper on victimless evidence-based prosecutions and how there should be a greater use on the CPS website. I would quote that at people. I phoned solicitors, MPs, child protection specialists to get their views, constantly being told I wasn't the victim. But to me, that didn't put me off. Birmingham Social Care, Children's Care was under special measures as well. So again, I thought, well, this is a gross failing. Surely with the attention on them, they'll have to be taken seriously. And also West Midlands Police had a really poor record around prosecuting sex offences and child sexual exploitation.
Gosh, so I mean, it sounds like, you were sort of really up against it. And how long did it take you, Vicky, to get this to court?
In 2017, I actually, alongside journalist Jeanette Oldham from Birmingham Mail, I'd sort of found her because I knew she'd written a lot of articles around failings by police and social care. Wrote an article that I hoped might be picked up nationally, picked up by police, social care, MPs. Nothing happened as a result. So the actual catalyst was sending my article into the Victoria Derbyshire programme, and it was featured in August 2019, and that seemed to be the real catalyst for the change.
Gosh, I mean, it's really extraordinary to hear how long it took for this to get taken seriously again, as you say, because your mother has already gone through this and now you're pursuing justice and you're still being met with all this resistance. Now, you do get this to court. What was it like facing your father, the man who raped your mother, in court?
Absolutely bizarre. He was the first person I saw when I walked into the court waiting room. So initially shocked, I knew he would be there, but I didn't expect him to be the first person. But actually, I think having met him in 2015 made it easier. It was like it's finally you are here, paying the price. Eventually, it's got here. But also, it was just a very, very bizarre experience. That's the first time I've been in the same room as both genetic parents, but it was in the backdrop of a rape trial. So just really bizarre, emotionally very difficult.
And Vicky, you made an incredibly powerful statement in court. You said, "I am more than evidence, more than a witness, more than a product of rape. I am not your shame." I mean, what a powerful statement to make. I mean, how did that feel reading those words out in court?
Oh, it was so meaningful for me to be able to do that. Obviously, I've been told I'm not a victim throughout this whole process. I made a point of saying I want to do a victim statement. I wasn't sure if I was even going to be allowed to right up until a couple of days before, to be honest, to have the opportunity to stand in a court, to be listened to for once, not just by my birth father, but by court, by a judge, because it wasn't, yes, my birth father's responsible for the rape, but there are organisations who have been culpable for not prosecuting, who are culpable for not protecting children because this man's been out free. Children conceived in rape, we're not spoken about. It's so still very much a taboo subject. And to be able to stand there and talk about my experience and what it's done to me and explain exactly why I have been a victim of this crime was just brilliant, liberating that I could do that.
Well, Vicky, we're so grateful for you for giving up a bit of your time and for speaking to us about your incredible story. And we just pay tribute to your bravery and your courage. Thank you so, so much for speaking to Times Radio.
Thank you so much. And I'd really like to say thank you to everybody. The public support I've had, both for myself and my birth mother, has just been so overwhelming. And I can't tell you how much it means. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure.